The first step for making our postcards is going to be to take a white crayon and draw the designs that you sketched out directly onto the watercolor paper. So because we're using white crayons, we can't really sketch our designs onto the final paper using pencil, because then the pencil would show through and it would mess up that effect of having just white with the paint. So you want to just kind of take your time. You are able to see where the crayon is drawing. You just have to kind of lower your face next to the paper, or maybe tilt it, and then you can kind of see what that design is looking like. Remember, if your design changes a little bit from your sketch, that's okay. It doesn't have to stay exactly the same. The most important thing is that you press down hard. If you do not press down hard with the crayon, then it's just gonna not show up through the paint. So you wanna make sure that you're pressing down hard. The next step is to paint on top of the crayons in order to create that wax resist. The way that you want to do that is you want to start by mixing up some paint, and you want those colors to be really bright. So you kind of want to spend some time mixing the color into the water in your paint tray. Pick colors that are next to each other, or colors that, like purple and red and orange would work together. Red, blue, and purple would work together also. So if they're next to each other, that means that when those colors mix together, they're gonna make interesting, beautiful looking colors. Whereas if you pick colors that are like not next to each other, they might end up mixing together to make kind of a weird color. So I'm just gonna use my brush and start painting different spaces. It's gonna be easier to paint a few green spaces all at once than it would be to just do a little green, rinse out my brush, do a little yellow, rinse out my brush. That would take a lot longer. So I'm doing several green spaces, and then I can move to the yellow and go through and do a few yellow spaces. Remember, I'm really mixing those paint colors into the water because I want to get really bright colors. So you can see I'm starting to have those colors mix, which is what I want. But because the colors have started to mix, that also means I need to rinse out my brush, especially with yellow. I don't want to get any green paint into the yellow. The wonderful thing about the wet on wet technique is the way those colors can mix together. And if you get a lot of paint, it's gonna help the colors to mix. If you paint it kind of dry where it's spread out and there's not any little puddles, those colors won't mix together as well. And then I'm ready for the blue. If you notice that there are places where the crayon isn't showing through, you can kind of scrape your brush off to dry it off, or you could get a brush that's already dry and sort of wipe away some of that paint if you want to, and that'll help that crayon line to show through. Another fun thing about wet on wet is dripping the paint. So if you kind of tilt the paper on purpose, you can get a lot of like really beautiful patterns out of the paint, which is a lot of fun. So really you want to play with the watercolors. You're kind of letting the watercolors do their thing, which is that watercolors want to spread and mix together. So we're embracing the characteristics of watercolors and letting them do the thing that they're really good at, which is blending and mixing together. Once you've got kind of the drips the way you want, you're gonna go put it up to dry on the drying rack. And we're gonna do 2 postcards if you have time. And then that way you can look at both of them and decide which one you want to send and which one you want to keep.